Good Wednesday afternoon to you. Welcome to the Jon Sanchez Show on Newstalk 780 KOH. It's a pleasure to be with you. I almost screwed up and said Friday because it does feel like a Friday, but it is not, John. It is not. It is a Wednesday. Jason has the afternoon off. I am joined by my beautiful daughter, Bailey Sanchez, Director of Marketing for Sanchez Got Capital Management. Happy pre-Thanksgiving, my dear.
Happy pre-Thanksgiving. Feels like Friday. Don't know what day of the week it is. End of the week, hopefully, but plus be here Friday. I don't know.
I know. It's bizarre, and it's going to be screwed up all week long, right? Of course,
absolutely.
Thanksgiving tomorrow, and then the market closes early at 10:00 on Friday. So, it's going to be a different one. So we're just going to take it hour by hour, Bailey. That's my best fatherly advice to you. Okay, we're just going to
Done
take it
deal.
hour by hour.
Done deal.
Perfect. Alrighty, folks. Well, hopefully you before we get into our topic this afternoon. Bailey and I and our entire team at Sanchez Got Capital Management wish each and every one of you a wonderful, safe Thanksgiving. Again, this is a great time for all of us to kind of take a deep breath, spend that quality time with friends, family. I'm looking forward to doing all of that. And just, like I said, taking a deep breath in life because, well, I tell you what, Bailey, as you and I both know, we get past Thanksgiving and it's a sprint till the end of the year. And, market's always open on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's a sprint for all of us in this industry till when we get past it. So let's enjoy these 4 days. Let's enjoy them. That's true. I'll be back on Friday morning for the stock updates, but get to hear the Wolfpack game at our showtime on Friday. So that'll be a nice little treat for you. And I'm going to spend some time, like I said, with friends and family. So
yeah.
All right, my dear. Well, let me tell you what we have lined up for you. So again, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Please be safe. After I give you the stock market recap, we're going to get into an issue that is probably, without a doubt, Bailey, I think you would agree, probably the most common question that any new person, any new client, potential client comes into our office and asks us. And that is, am I ready to retire? And that is the reason, of course, we go through a tremendous process with them, right? A very organized process, but looking at so many aspects of their lives. Obviously, the financial side, the mental side, all of these different ingredients have to come together to give them a confident answer that yes, you are, or every once in a while we have to be the bad guy and say, you know what, I'm sorry, Mr. Smith, but you're not quite there yet. You're not mentally ready. You're not financially ready. Let's work a few more years. But, if you can do that, then look at what you're going to have when it's all said and done. So how do you know when you are ready to retire? So I've put together a kind of a 10-point checklist that we're going to do something a little bit different. Bailey's actually going to kind of become the host, and I get to be the guest in a sense, because she's going to fire off these questions. And I glanced at them, Bailey. I really don't know exactly what you're going to be asking me. I thought it'd kind of be best that way to hit me with a surprise there. But and you're going to kind of take it from a parent standpoint, right, Bailey? I think I saw in your notes.
I think taking it more so actually from the child's standpoint of, if you were not my father, I would have these questions. I see mom and dad getting older. I know that this time is slowly approaching. It's a sensitive topic with them. I don't want to say, hey, dad, I know your career's almost over and what are you going to do with life? Or, hey, dad, you ready to retire and stop doing the same routine you have for the last 40 years? So I wrote down all these questions of, how do we go about this? How do I know as a child, when does it look like my parents are ready to retire? What does life look like after that? And how do I bring up these conversations of long-term health care? What does it look like when they finally need a little bit more extra help with their health or going into a retirement home? Things of that sort that all come with the phase of retirement.
Impress me here. Man.
You're welcome.
So these are the things kids go through, huh?
I think so.
And let's set the table straight. I am nowhere even thinking about retirement.
Yes, don't worry.
I've done this for almost 36 years. I love everything that I do, and there are no signs of retirement. I still got a lot in the tank, but yeah, no, I think that's. Again, Bailey, condone what you're doing. I think it's a very interesting approach to kind of come at it from that standpoint, because again, we look at it differently when we talk to our clients. You're going to look at it as, again, kind of an adult child asking me as your father, if I'm ready to retire, and so on and so forth. So I think between the two of us, we're going to kind of cover all the bases here, and really get into these major questions you need to ask folks, because remember, this is probably the most major decision you're going to make in your life, right? And in many cases, there's no turning back, right? Very few people retire and then find out a year or two later they don't like it, or they can't afford to do it, and go back and get their job back, right? Very few. Matter of fact, I don't think I know of any clients. I've had some that have gone back as consultants, as I've shared. We get an LLC formed, and they go back as a consultant. They're a 1099 person, so they get some great tax benefits and so on and so forth, and that's worked out well. But for everybody else, that if you can't go back as a consultant of something, what are you going to do? You're going to go find a job somewhere else. And like we always joke, this is why you see people working at many retail stores that look like they are of retirement age, because things just didn't work out, whether it was their own mistakes or just life itself. We don't want that to happen. So that's why we need to really vet and make sure that we're covering all these major questions before we make that final decision. And I know many of you, I see this, Bailey, a lot with our clients. If they're still working, this is the time of the year where this subject really becomes popular. And here's why I say that. Number one, it seems to be a topic that's brought up at the Thanksgiving or the Christmas table. Number one, when they're sitting around with friends and family, it's like, yeah, man, I've been in retirement for 5 years. I love it. And then you're kind of thinking to yourself, oh, man, I wish I could say that. I hate my job.
Mm-hmm.
I hate what I do. And, man, I'm kind of thinking about retirement. I just don't want to tell anybody yet. So that's one reason that kind of sparks it. And then the other is, obviously, we got the new year right around the corner, and people are like, you know what? I'm going to make 2026 my year. I'm going to do what I want to do, which is I want to retire. I want to go travel. I want to do this. I want to do that. And so it's kind of a fresh start to the new year. So I think this is a very timely topic that we're going to discuss, and I'm excited to be interviewed by you for a change. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, perfect. Well, with that said, let me get the stock market side out of the way. We've had 4 consecutive days of this market going up. And as I joked this morning with Ross Mitchell on my stock updates, it's like the little train that it just keeps chugging up this hill, and it just not stopping at this point. Now, please don't take that as to complacency on my part or anything like that. I'm just saying it is a market that had a lot of reasons. We had some economic reports released this morning. We had a bunch that were supposed to be released that they weren't, because, again, they're still trying to catch up from the government shutdown. But I can make a really strong case that there were reasons throughout this week that this market could have sold off, but it didn't. Again, it just continued to propel higher and higher and higher. And that's exactly what happened today. So kind of hitting, some of the high points with you. One thing that we saw happen, Google has just been on a tear for, again, all the reasons I've mentioned every day this week. 3 days in a row it had gone up. Gave a little bit back today, down $3.36, a 1.04% loss to $320.28. NVIDIA actually stopped the selling it's experienced these last couple of days, up $2.44. So the AI space still continuing to work out pretty well. Dell was a standout, great earnings beat and great guidance, and so shareholders were rewarded there, up $7.34, 5.83% to $133.26. Those were really, again, some of the major standouts in today's market activity. But if we look at the market overall, I would say, what was the number one driving force to the gains of this week through Wednesday? And it was this optimism, folks, this absolute optimism that the Fed is now going to give us an interest rate cut in December, like we've been talking about every day on this show. It started last Friday when Fed President Williams said, in a roundabout way, he's supporting an interest rate cut. Then we had a handful of voting members this week reiterate the same message, and you had a few that said, no, we don't want to do it. But overall, the takeaway from the street was, hey, we're ready to to give the street in the economy an interest rate cut in December. I think the other thing that helped a lot is, as we discussed with Corey DeWhite yesterday, Kevin Hassett, currently part of the Trump cabinet administration. Many are pushing for him, and rumor has it that he is going to become the next Treasury Secretary. Again, the president yesterday indicating that he's going to make a decision by Christmas time, which is much sooner than expected. Remember, Chairman Powell's on the job through May, mid-May. But the street loves Kevin Hassett. If that comes out and is confirmed, folks, we are off to the races, in my opinion. So that was the other driving force. So really nothing negative this week, Bailey. I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways. We really didn't have anything negative this week. Kind of mixed reports yesterday. Let me hit some of the highlights of today. So, boy, feels like a million years since I've mentioned this. So we had the initial claims check-in today. This is for the week ending November 22nd. This is your first time filing for state unemployment benefits. Decreased by 6,000 to 216,000 people. That, by the way, is the lowest initial claims number dating back to April. So it tells us the labor market is still holding on. Continuing claims, those that are on the state unemployment benefit on an ongoing basis. This is through November 15th, increased by only 7,000 to 1,960,000. So again, these numbers are telling us that we are absolutely nowhere close to any type of a recession level in the labor market, et cetera. We're still in this very low firing type of environment. Then we had durable goods check-in. Durable goods are your big ticket items with a life expectancy greater than 3 years. It's a manufacturing type report. Durable goods up 0.5% month over month in September. Got a big revision from 2.9 to 3% for August. That came out also. Good takeaway there from good business spending. I mean that really was the takeaway. Again, we get washing machines, jet airplanes, automobiles. It's all kind of thrown in this durable goods. So it's a great barometer of what's going on in the manufacturing side of the economy. And the number was good. We had mortgage applications come in as we do each and every Wednesday for the week ending November 22nd. Mortgage apps were up just 0.2%, but the previous week they were down 5.2. So big reversal there. And finally, today we had the Fed November Beige Book. This is like a report card from all the different Fed districts around the country. And really, overall, just little change since October. 2 districts saw modest softness. 1 saw modest growth. Consumer spending weakened, but spending on higher-end items remained strong. No significant change in travel trends. Manufacturing increased slightly, they said. And there was some pressure on overall employment while prices rose moderately. So like I said, that was it. That was the highlight of this morning, and we just continue to push higher. Tell you what this market did when we come back, then we'll get ready for our topic. 10 signs to know if you're ready to retire. Turn it over to Kristen Snow, right now, Traffic Center. Kristen. Welcome back to the Jon Sanchez Show on Newstalk 780 KOH. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I am joined this afternoon by my beautiful daughter, Bailey Sanchez. Jason has the afternoon off, and we're going to get into our topic, 10 signs to know if you're ready to retire. Oh, it's going to be a good one. Don't miss this. All right, here we go. Here's how we finished up on the market. 15 gain on the Dow, a 0.67% rise with a closing level of 47,427. NASDAQ up 189 points, 0.82%, closing at 23,214. And the S&P 500 gaining 47 points, 0.69% to a close of 6,812. 67-cent rise on oil of $58.07 a barrel. Gold gained $62.10, 4,202.40 an ounce. And a big old goose egg on the 10-year Treasury, closing again right at the 4% mark. All right, Miss Sanchez, the floor is all yours. How you want to handle this? I'm going to be the guest. You're going to be the host, and you're going to find out how to know when parent is ready for retirement.
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, the holidays are such a special time. It could be a stressful time when the family finally comes back together. They're sitting around a table again for the first time in Lord knows how long. And, kids come home, they finally see mom and dad face to face and really get some more honest conversations of what life is looking like at home with their parents and what their life is looking like. Emotionally, financially, what their future plans are and everything. So I think about the situation of finally sitting down at the dinner table and you look at mom and dad. Dad's really pumped on his career still. He's at the age where retirement looks like it's close. Mom, on the other hand, is with the job she's been with for the last 40 years, but mom looks tired. Mom makes statements about, I'm just done. I am ready to move on. And so I look at this from a child's standpoint, and I obviously want the best for my parents. So what does that look like if dad's living his best life? He's same age as mom. They're close to retirement, but mom is really done with retirement. Do I make a statement to them? Hey, have you both considered retirement? Mm-hmm. Do I mention to just one of them, hey, mom, I think you should retire, but put that pressure on dad. Let him keep working. What does that look like? And how does a child bring that up to their parents and know when it's the right time to bring it up?
I think it's in a child's position to bring it up. I think it's something they observe or they don't observe, right? So a lot of times as a parent, you're going to share those kind of concerns with your adult children, and sometimes you aren't. I'd say for the most part you will. But you bring up a real life scenario, Bailey, where one parent is ready to retire and the other one isn't. And this is a challenge for us as financial advisors when we're faced with that. So I'll give you, what I've learned and what we've done with our clients pretty well over the years. And that is, you never ever can force someone to retire. You've been around this business your entire life. You know that if someone is not mentally ready to retire, no matter how much money they have or whatever, they're going to be miserable, right? Money is not the issue, folks, when it comes to retirement. It's a component, but it is not the all encompassing deciding factor whether you should retire or not. It starts between your two ears. And I've shared this story a million times. I'll say it 1,000,001 times. I sit down, especially with the men, and ask them, are you mentally ready to retire? And as I've shared with you, I've had men cry in my office because they're not. Maybe they were forced out, Bailey, early retirement, health reasons, whatever it was, and they just were not mentally ready to retire. I validated financially they were more than capable of retiring, but they just could not bring themselves to it. Because what's the problem with us men? I've never had this problem with women, as I've said before. What's the problem with us men? We're egomaniacs. We like to be wanted. We like to be needed. We like to be asked our opinions and so on and so forth. And it scares the heck out of us men knowing that we're going to be home with, in your example, this wife that we love dearly, but she doesn't care about that. She wants to go spend time with her grandkids and cook and do all the things that she wants to do, spend time with her friends. Us men are wired completely different.
Yes.
You see, we have to come out of retirement a little bit different from a man versus a woman. I've never, in my almost 36-year career, have I ever had a woman say she was not mentally ready to retire. Never. Men, yeah, very common.
Yeah.
So how do you know as a child? Well, I think in your example, you encourage mom to do it. Right? We don't know. We all know this same. We don't know how long we're going to be on this earth. I had a major health scare in my life, back in 2022. I had a time period where I didn't know if I was going to be alive for the next 2 or 3 days. I mean, let me tell you, you go through that in your life, you look at things a whole bunch different,
Yeah.
So what I always say is if you have one spouse ready, one spouse isn't, that's when you sit down with someone like Jason and myself or a good quality financial advisor and say, look, we're contemplating this. Tell us financially. What I've learned, Bailey, is over the years, if I write the financial plan for them and they can see that the numbers make sense, that many times will validate at least that financially they can do it. And generally that's when one spouse will go, like in your example, the wife's like, hey, look at honey, I don't need to work anymore. You make plenty of money. You have plenty of investments. Great. Go ahead and do it. Right. And she retires. Man's like, good. I dodged that bullet. I can continue working for a few more years. But now we go into the next phase, which is, and this is where it gets quite a bit more challenging. And this is where the man gets up at 6 o'clock every day. He's out of the house by 7, goes to work, gets home at 5 o'clock. He expects dinner to be on the table. He expects this, he expects that, like he's always had for the last 35 years. But guess what? It's not the same wife, right? She's out busy doing stuff. Maybe she, instead of being home at 5 o'clock for dinner, she's over with the grandkids, playing around with them. Or maybe she went to the movies with her friends. So that can start to create a lot of animosity. I've seen it where, I've had couples get in fights because the house isn't clean. Well, wait a minute, honey, you're home all day. Why isn't the house clean? Why isn't dinner on the table? And I've seen it not just with us men, Bailey. I've seen the roles reverse where the wife continues to work and the husband's at home and she comes home and goes, hey, dude, you've been sitting around watching ESPN all day today. Right. Why isn't there any dinner? Why is the house a mess? So once you validate that one of you are ready mentally to retire and you financially can do it, now you have to set up the ground rules. This is what I expect out of you. This is what I expect out of you, right? So you need to have that communication, because if not, again, first thing anybody thinks, well, if my wife is going to be home all day in your example, she's going to be home all day. Again, man, things should be done and life should just be a piece of cake. But that's not always the case. So sit down and lay out what those expectations are.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched on the next question I was going to ask you. If the child doesn't want to overstep, right, and say, hey, mom, you're going into retirement, right? It will never happen that way. Right. And so looking at it from the outside in, how do you approach your parents in that sort without overstepping? Do you say, hey, I think you should just go see a financial planner. You guys are kind of in that stage. I want you to make sure that you have things lined up. Nobody says anyone has to go quit their job tomorrow. Right. And I know your answer is going to be yes. I don't think, even in my opinion, there's no too early of an age to see a financial planner, right? It's just your helpful counselor next to you that is going to help kind of guide your finances.
That's right. Absolutely. And you're spot on, Bailey, because no one can fault, as you're describing this, I'll pause for a second. As you're describing this, I'm thinking of that Thanksgiving table or Christmas table discussion about estate planning. and
Mm-hmm.
long-term care and some of
Yes.
these other things that kids are generally the ones that bring up to their parents. Rarely have I ever seen where kids start talking to mom and dad and someone encouraging them about retirement, unless they can see that mom and dad, maybe they're fighting a lot because they're so
Mm-hmm.
stressed, right? Because they're both working so much and they're not happy and they're miserable and their marriage is failing. And that's a great role that an adult child can play, is to point these out, because a lot of times, obviously, we can't see what we're doing to ourselves.
Right.
So your answer is 100% spot on. And trust me, folks, again, I don't know these questions she's going to ask me, so I'm so proud of you, honey, for bringing this up. And you just go, look at, you both are miserable. You both have talked to me privately together. You don't like your jobs. Go meet with a financial advisor and validate it. Let's just see where the numbers are. Then make a decision. Even if it's not today, if the financial advisor says, yeah, you're cool, you got enough money, everything's great, that doesn't mean you have to retire today. But now you can. And Bailey, let me tell you, from a psychological standpoint, let me tell you, I've seen this with clients so many times. They're miserable in their job. We validate the financial numbers, the cash flow, everything we do. Like, wow, I kind of look forward to going to work on Monday, because they know they don't have to. It's a complete
Right.
different mind shift.
Right.
So yeah, just refer them to the financial advisor, sit down with them, validate the numbers. If they're great, set a target date. Or if not, at least, like you said, have that financial advisor in their life, because folks, let me tell you, you will wake up one day. It will be out of your control. You may say, I'm not ready for retirement today, but let me tell you, you're going to wake up one day. You're not going to know where it comes from. And you're going to go, I'm done. I'm just done. I don't want to go to work anymore. And if you start feeling those Sunday evening blues, right? So many of you get that. It's like, oh boy, tomorrow's Monday. I don't want to go into work tomorrow. Those are some telltale signs that you're ready to retire. So
Right.
just be prepared. This is the bottom line, because like I said, mentally, you never know when it's going to hit. Wouldn't you like to know, hey, cool, I just met, Sanchez gone a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago. They said I can do it. Cool. I'm out of here. I'm done.
Yeah.
Boom. On to the next chapter of your life. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Great. This is a lot of fun. All right. Let's continue our discussion about 10 signs to know if you're ready to retire. But first, let's turn it over to Mr. Ryan Nutter. He's got news, traffic, and weather. Hey, Ryan. Welcome back to the Jon Sanchez Show on News Talk 780 KOH. Joined by my beautiful daughter, Bailey Sanchez. Jason has the afternoon off. Once again, a 315 gain on the Dow today. NASDAQ up 189, S&P up 46. And once again, markets will be closing early on Friday, 10 o'clock. So if you have any business to get done on Friday, get it done early. If your financial advisor's around, we are. We're going to be there. We're working. We don't take time off. We don't take time off so our clients can take time off, right, Bailey?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I love no time off.
I wouldn't have to do. Get in trouble that way. All right, 10 signs you're ready to retire. Bailey's coming at this from, again, from an adult child's perspective, even though in the real life she is my daughter, one of my 3 kids. And I think it's really interesting. I don't know the questions she's going to ask, but these are things, again, to make me think, if I was ready to retire, again, what are some of the things I need to be asking myself and my spouse needs to be asking, et cetera. So continue on, my dear.
Yeah, just things to think of as an adult child coming to the dinner table, that whether tomorrow, Christmas time, whatever it is. So easing on into the next part, right? Say you're uncomfortable talking to your parents about retirement. You think it's a good time, but you don't want to overstep boundaries, right? Make them uncomfortable. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, as an adult child in your 30s, 40s, whatever it is, this may be a good time to remind yourself, hey, I need to build a trust. I need my own financial planner. So maybe I encourage mom and dad to come in, meet with a financial advisor together as a family. I want them to know that they'll be in my trust. God forbid I drop dead tomorrow.
Yes.
Where do my kids go? What happens to my money? Let's bring the family into the financial advisor. And this is a great segue into mom and dad signing on with the financial advisor. And hopefully he can kind of get the ball rolling for them on if retirement is logical or not. And I can get my own ball rolling and be prepared on my own.
You bring up a point that I don't think I've ever mentioned on the radio. And it's such a valid point, Bailey, because I'll tell you, sitting in our seat, we love it when our clients bring their adult children in, and not just to, open another account or become another client, but more importantly, to understand what we're doing for mom and dad, because nothing is worth sitting in our seat than when, dad passes away, then mom passes away, and the money goes to the kids, and the kids are like, they're strangers to us. We're strangers to them. We don't know anything. How much easier would things be if, whether they became a client, when mom and dad were alive, or or they were involved in the family meetings, it makes it easier for everybody. Even if you're going to take your money and go somewhere else, at least you know the advisor, and the advisor knows you.
Yep.
So that's an excellent point, Bailey. Kind of the family meeting. But this happens a lot. Right? Well, half the meeting we're meeting with regarding the kids and their future, and then the other half of the meeting we're talking with mom and dad and their concerns and wishes and so on and so forth. And this works both on the estate planning side as well as on the financials
Yeah.
investing side.
Yeah,
Great
and
point.
just adding on a note again, if you're living on the East Coast, parents are on the West Coast, and you only
Yeah,
see each
doesn't
other
matter.
once a year, even though the holidays are a time to relax and they should be, it's also a time to just have some nice open conversation. Nobody
Sure.
has to fight about it, but just being open about it and knowing kind of what plans will be. You
Yeah.
never know what could happen to anyone at all. So,
Well, that openness, and we're going to be doing a lot more shows here soon on estate planning, but that openness, folks, there's still a few of you out there, I know there is, that you don't want to share with your kids what's in your estate plan or your will, right? Hopefully it's a living trust, not a will. You're like, no, it's none of their business. And okay, I understand. But for most of you, you're doing an absolute disservice by not sharing if those kids are going to be inheriting money or they're going to be the executor of your estate handling the business affairs when you're gone. You are doing such a disservice to them. I hate to be real blunt with you, but you are, right? I see this all the time. Son, Freddie will be the executor. Mom and dad die, and Freddie's like, I had no idea mom and dad had property in Texas and down in California, and they have a $800,000 IRA account. I don't know what to do with it. I didn't even know I was going to be the executor. Have the open communications.
well, we've
That
seen it
I
together too, right? When someone in the
mhm.
family dies, and some children think they have ownership of
Yep,
some money or property, and
and that's
mom
why
and dad
parents avoid
never.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, and mom and dad never told them, "Yes, you haven't. No, you don't." It
no,
creates
you
these
don't.
nasty fights within a family. So
Oh
you
yeah,
spend the morning time actually
yeah,
fighting with each other
yeah. You
over
do.
money and
Well,
physical goods.
where it gets bad is when you have siblings too, right? Because
Hmm.
especially if one sibling gets more percentage of the estate than the others, and
Yeah.
they don't understand why. And yeah, there's a million scenarios, but
Well,
yeah,
and
that
too, you think about
communication.
it from the emotional side. Why would you want to leave that bad taste in your children's
Right.
mouths, right?
Yeah.
If you have three kids and you had a valid reason where the eldest child got more of something versus the youngest, and
Mm-hmm.
now you're gone, and the youngest thinks mom and dad screwed me out of everything. Did they just
Yep.
not love me as much as the oldest?
That's right.
Have the conversation and just lay it out
Mm-hmm.
black and white. That's the communication, as cheesy as it is the key to everything in life, especially financials and
Absolutely.
planning.
Yep.
So I
Amen.
think that's such an important point to hit and
Right.
remember.
Right.
But moving into that too, right? You look at mom and dad, you haven't seen them in a year. You realize their health is getting kind of poor. You don't want to bring it up and make it a touchy subject, but you see mom and dad's health is kind of declining. They're
Mm-hmm.
still working. It brings up another question like, gosh, I wish they would just retire soon. You can just see,
Enjoy
work is
life.
taking a toll on their body.
Mm-hmm.
How do I bring this up to my parents in terms of healthcare costs and say
Sure.
a retirement home? How can I bring this up to them and say, hey, we should really look at maybe retiring, meeting with a financial advisor to plan out these healthcare costs in
Yes.
case something were to happen. I'm on the East Coast, and if mom goes
Mm-hmm.
down any day because she has bad knees from work, how do we prepare for this?
Mm-hmm.
So I think healthcare costs seems to be a big elephant in the room too within families. So how do you approach your parents with that? That I see your health is
Mm-hmm.
declining, and how do I encourage them to put healthcare costs in their view and how to prepare for it and kind of ease that into a retirement
Right.
talk too?
The only way you can do it is to be straightforward and blunt about it, right? Because we as parents or grandparents, we need to remember this. Number one, we have to have an estate plan. So, because you don't want your kids going into probate court and fighting it out with attorneys and judges and things being distributed that were not your wishes. That's the importance of a living trust. Again, we'll talk much more detail about that later. Um, but you also, Bailey, you have a vested interest, right? And that is, especially if one of your parents has already passed away, and usually it's going to be the man, you're left with mom, right? And like you said, mom's health is starting to deteriorate. She's going to need some help, either one of
Mhm.
two ways. Either, I'm just going to use you as an example, Bailey. Let's say you're a single child, right? So mom's going to call you one day, you're working in New York. Mom's going to call you and go, Bailey, I can't take care of myself anymore. I can't handle the ADLs anymore. I can't bathe myself or, dress myself. I need help. So now, Bailey, you've got two choices. All right. Number one, you're going to stop your life and move home and take care of mom. God forbid if you had a family and a husband and a kids, because try to convince them to do that. So that's one choice. Second choice is maybe it's time to put mom into an assisted living facility. So now you got to figure out, how am I going to afford, or better yet, how's mom going to afford this, whatever the cost is, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 a month? I don't know mom's finances. Hence back to our earlier discussion where you need to communicate your financial picture with your children. So now, let's say you both have determined the best thing is for mom to go into an assisted living facility. Now we got to, again, figure out how we're going to pay for that. That's where we as the financial advisor come in and we sit down and go, okay, you're drawing this amount off of your portfolio now. We think maybe you can increase it to this amount and use that additional money to pay for the long-term care. But the better whole situation, and I've seen this many times, Bailey, and it's such a great move, is where, and it generally works when there's a couple siblings. And what they'll do is they'll go, okay, let's say let's say it's you and your brother, right? And you go, okay, brother, listen, let's have a conversation. At some point, mom's going to need to go into an assisted living facility. Neither one of us can, we don't want her to move in. We don't have a room or, that type of thing. So who's going to pay for it? Well, what if mom doesn't have a lot of money? So what you as the siblings could do, Bailey, is you can go out and buy a long-term care policy for mom yourself. It's a pretty good investment if you look at it from the standpoint, you get to kind of keep your life going, but your mom, most importantly, is going to be taken care of. And, they're not that expensive anymore. They're a combination of life insurance and long-term care. And, again, you're talking $4,000 to $5,000 a year for pretty good coverage, $3,000 or $4,000 a month, which gets you a really nice facility here in Reno. And so, it's like an investment on your own just to do that. So your estate's not being drained, your inheritance is not being drained, but more importantly, mom's being taken care of professionally, right. and she's happy. She's with other senior citizens, and everybody works, towards the same goal. The problem that comes in, as I said in my first scenario, when you've got to give up your life and tell your husband, I've got to move from New York back to Reno, Nevada to take care of mom. He's like, I can't go. I've got a career. Yeah. And maybe you have a career. You got to give that up. It's an absolute mess. So that should be part of the discussion when it comes to retirement. How do you guys want to be taken care of? Who's going to pay for it?
Absolutely. Communication once again.
Back to it. Absolutely. All right, let's take a final break, and we'll come back and continue our discussion. 10 signs to know if you're ready to retire. Let's wrap it up with Kristen Snow right now, Traffic Center. Hello. Welcome back to the Jon Sanchez Show on News Talk 780 KOH with my daughter, Bailey Sanchez. All right, Bailey, let's get our 10 points, because we've kind of bumped around. I want to really hit this very specifically, the 10 points that we promised everybody, 10 signs that you are ready to retire. You want to do it, or you want me to?
Let me let you take the reins on this one.
Okay. All right. You got it. So I'm going to go real fast on these folks, so we're tight on time. So here's 10 things that we always look at for our clients. Number one, is your debt under control, right? You don't want to go into retirement with a drowning debt. It'll just make life miserable. No high interest debt, mortgage is either paid off or easily affordable. Monthly obligations aren't straining your cash flow. Number two, you have a solid income plan. Again, I can't stress this enough. Do you have guaranteed income sources coming in? Pensions, annuities, Social Security. What's your withdrawal rate? 4%, 5%, 6%? What's it coming out of? We have portfolios that we manage that are designed exactly for the withdrawal strategy. The biggest problem that you have, or the biggest risk that you have, is running out of money. So you got to really understand that withdrawal rate. And you know where every dollar is going to come from, right? Number three, as Bailey was just talking about, the healthcare costs, are they fully addressed? Medicare, supplemental plans, have they been chosen? Do you have long-term care strategies in place? What about out-of-pocket medical expenses? Have they been budgeted for? And can you afford it? Number four, you have a fully built retirement budget. You know your monthly needs, your wants, and your dreams. Remember, there's three components of retirement: needs, wants, and dreams when it comes to cash flow. Lifestyle expenses, travels, hobbies, grandkids, they're expensive. Is that priced in and budgeted for? Number five, your portfolio can handle pretty much any type of economic market storm. Do you have diversification, reduced sequence of return risk, a risk plan that lets you sleep well at night, even when we have these volatile time periods? Number six, have you tested your retirement income? Have you run what we call stress test scenarios? Have you simulated recessions or bear markets? Do you know you can survive downturns in the market? Number seven, your emotional readiness. We touched on this. You're not retiring from something, you're retiring to something. You have a spouse, you have a purpose, you're going to travel, volunteer. What's your reason for getting out of bed? Number eight, your spouse and partner are on the same page. Number nine, you have an estate and legacy plan. And number 10, you know who will help you manage the money. Wrap us up, my dear. Wrap us up.
Yeah, well, I hope this encourages everyone to have some honest conversations this week around the dinner table. So if the checklist made you wonder, are you ready to retire? Come sit down with our team. We are more than happy to run numbers, stress test this for you. You're not going to pay $1. by any means. We just want to do what's best for you guys, and hopefully you'll come in and join our family. So if you have any questions, want to come visit with us, give us a call, 775-800-1801, or you can go to our website as well for some more info, sanchezgaunt, GAUNT.com, and we can schedule an appointment for you and just come in and have a chat with our team. We would be happy to get everyone on the path for retirement.
I love it. And just sitting down sometimes, Bailey, we do this all the time. Just, again, there's no charge for our discovery meetings, but just sitting down and talking to a financial professional, whether it's us or anybody else out there, it makes all the difference in the world. Just to kind of air like what your concerns are. And I'll kind of leave at this point, Bailey. You're talking about the whole family and everything getting involved. I've seen this so many times where you may have been married to this person for 35, 40, 50 years, but you really don't know them financially. They may have completely different retirement dreams and goals than you do. And trust me, you much would rather find out before retirement happens than when you are in retirement. Your grandparents, I'll give you a prime example. I remember when I sat down and I was a broker for 2 years when your grandfather retired, and your grandmother, as you know, never worked outside the home. And she pulled me aside. She goes, "I don't want Sam to retire." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "He's going to screw up my routine." She does laundry the same time every day. And she's like, "I don't want him to retire." But I would have never thought that. But that's the facts of life.
Absolutely. And as a child, I want nothing more to know than my parents are covered financially when they're ready to finally relax.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. All right, folks. God bless all of you. Happy Thanksgiving. I'll be back with you Friday morning for the updates, and then Monday for the show. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Take care.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Jon Sanchez is a registered investment advisor, and the opinions expressed by Sanchez Gaunt Capital Management, LLC on this show are their own and do not reflect the opinions of News Talk 780 or its parent company, Cumulus Media. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for any individual. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.